Yep, drinking water again. What's up, guys? Happy, what is it, Tuesday? Yeah, happy Tuesday to you guys. Hold on, I'm just going to close the door real quick. So, give you guys a little bit to jump on here. There will be a replay for a little bit, maybe a day, and then it's coming down because this is normally a paid course that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So this should be fun. So the reason I am doing this is in celebration of the final day of the launch of the Create an EP in 30 Days Master Course. So if you have struggled at all with finishing songs, with sound design, with music theory, just not knowing when the song's finished, feeling like your song's missing something, feeling like you don't know enough about Ableton to finish songs, feel like you don't have enough equipment or plugins to finish songs, any of that stuff is completely solved inside this 30-day like transformation sort of program. This is definitely not just an information sort of master course at all. In fact, there's a lot of really good courses that give a lot of great information. You know, like the corporate guys, you know, they charge anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. I've even seen a $16,000 course where they train people on loads and loads of information. But I have a number of these people become my students because although their heads are filled with all these great tools and tricks and techniques and things, they're still not finishing songs. So the absolute goal of this master course is to finish songs. So if you have any interest in that, just read the description. If you know anyone else that would be into learning this, just tag them in the comments below. I'm sure they'll thank you for this. And of course, tag anyone who you think might be interested in learning the Wavetable in Ableton 10. That's what I'm going to be sharing my course on. So we'll kind of take this one video at a time. All right. Getting my coffee going here. So let me check my phone. If you guys have joined, if you guys can hear me, just let me know by commenting, just I can hear you or whatever. And that will be probably the easiest way. Give me just a second to find myself live. You know how this goes. All right, cool. Yeah. Got a couple likes and all that stuff. Yeah, just waiting for you guys to come in. So I'm just going to sit here and drink my water. Getting back into the routine after my birthday. I was eating like crap for the last week, so I've been avoiding temptation lately. So drinking a lot of water. And actually it works pretty well. As long as you get some eggs and beans, you know, some protein in the morning, you're usually not hungry till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So that makes it pretty easy. Let's see. It looks like a few of you guys are jumping in. Once again, if you're jumping in and you're actually listening to this, then just let me know that you can hear me. Let me know where you're from if you want. Tag a friend if you think they could learn something in Ableton 10, or tag a friend if the EP in 30 Days course that ends in 24 hours might be of interest to them. Also, I look a little bit orange like an Oompa Loompa or certain presidents that we might have. So let me turn this on. There we go. Much better. So I'm just going to hang out and make sure you guys are engaged. And then I'm going to drop some free training on you. Normally, this course on the Wavetable instrument would be a paid course. It's inside one of my membership groups. And I'm just going to share this live with you. I'll keep it up for about 24 hours. And then it's got to come down because, once again, it's a paid course. But I thought that I would share that with you guys in celebration of this last 24 hours. If you have any questions after I start sharing the Wavetable videos, or if you have any questions on the EP in 30 Days course, feel free to contact me in the comments, or you can contact me privately. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of students start finishing songs for the first time, start releasing EPs, because here's the thing, you don't just want to release and finish one song. You want to really prepare yourself to finish an EP, and that's why I created the EP in 30 Days course. Another reason I did the 30 days, even though you can go at your own pace if you would like to, and as long as you're committed, I stay committed to you. But the reason I made this a 30-day course is because I wanted it to be possible for people who don't even yet own Ableton to be able to download the free 30-day trial. It's full-featured. There's no limitations at all. It's a full version of Ableton Suite, and you could use that through the whole course for free. So that's one of the reasons why I thought it'd be a good idea to create a course that you can actually start and finish in 30 days without even having to buy Ableton if you don't have it. So even if you're using another program now like Logic or Cubase or FL Studio, you could take this course and see how Ableton works. It won't cost you anything. If you love Ableton, you can go and buy it. If you don't, you can take all of the process that I share with you in Ableton and transfer it to whatever DAW you want. So, I am still waiting for people to just kind of jump on here, and we'll go after this Wavetable training. And by the way, if you haven't used Wavetable, it is super cool. It's got to be one of the best synths, and once you figure it out, it's actually a really easy synth to use. Really, really versatile. You can do a whole lot with it. So we're going to get like pretty deep into it. There's 8 different training videos that I'm going to share with you on the Wavetable. So yeah, if you are joining me, come on in, hang tight, let me know you're here. Give me a thumbs up, comment below, let me know you can hear me. And then we'll dive in. It is Tuesday, so I know it's not like a really popular day. But all right, let's see here. Got a few of you here, so yeah, just give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know that you're here. Let me know you're paying attention, and we will get started with the training. So, I know there's a little latency as well, so that's kind of why I'm waiting a little bit after I talk. But yeah, we've been here for about 8 minutes, so let's just jump in. So, first video here. Let's do this. All right, so in this series of videos, we're going to be talking about Ableton 10's new synth called the Wavetable. It's a very powerful synth capable of making some really complex sounds. And although Wavetable synths aren't anything new, this really is a new way to look at this type of synthesis. So with that said, I'm going to spend this video just giving you a basic navigation of the synth, and then we'll go deeper into it in later videos. So what we have here from left to right, over here we have a sub oscillator, which basically means if you hit a note on the keyboard, this is also going to create a note, either an octave lower or 2 octaves lower. Down here we have transpose, which most of the synths have, and this just transposes the notes that you're playing. There's usually not much purpose in changing this, but that's what it's for. Next we get into oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and this is where we choose the sounds, the waveforms that we're going to create a sound from. So you could think of this like 2 synthesizers, all right? And then in here, you could choose the types of sounds that you're looking for, all right? And we'll dive deeper into all of this. Next, we have a filter, and by default, it's going to look more like this here, opening up the one filter, which is a low-pass filter. And this right here by default is a high-pass filter. And you could use one, the other, or both. And both of them have the options of low-pass, high-pass, bandpass, or notch. You also have the choice of how sharp the resonance is going to be, between 24 dB or 12 dB. And this just kind of sharpens the sound a bit more at its resonant frequency. And with 12, it's a little bit smoother. Next, we get into the Mod Sources tab. And we start with amp, and this is the basic envelope of the sound itself. And then these are two more envelopes that we can use to modulate pretty much anything in the synth. Same here with the LFO and LFO2, okay? In the next tab, we have the matrix, and this is really where all the sound manipulation happens. This is where a lot of the sound creation or the sound design work takes place. And once again, in the matrix, you can add any parameter you want from the synthesizer, and it will add to the matrix. And over here, as you can see, we can affect the main envelope, or what we call the amp envelope, envelope 2, envelope 3, LFO1 and LFO2. So lots of modulation that we can do here. And then if we come over to the MIDI, it's a very similar thing, but these are more of the MIDI parameters that we can affect as well. And then finally, to the right, we have our main volume, just the main output volume, poly and mono. So with mono, it's only going to be able to play one note at a time when you play a keyboard. When it's in poly mode, you can play multiple notes at the same time. And you can choose how many notes you want to be able to play at the same time right here between 2 and 8. All right? You just want to watch your CPU as you add more and more notes, okay? Next, we have the glide, which works in the mono. And this basically just glides from one note to another. And this here in milliseconds defines how quickly the bend goes from one note to the next, or how long it goes, all the way up to 20 seconds. Next, we have unison. And this is like layering a bunch of the same sound on top of each other and slightly spreading them by pitch shifting them slightly. And the amount of pitch shifting that happens is here in the amount section. And voices is how many of the same sounds are being layered together. And that can be anywhere from 2 sounds all the way up to 8 sounds. Once again, you want to watch your CPU as you go through this. And I find that 3 tends to be a very good starter point to really get the effect started. As you add more voices, it's noticeable, but still a little bit more subtle. So now that I've shown you all the separate tabs here, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the wavetable here. And you'll see that this is laid out much more easily here, where you can view everything in the synth. So here we have the sub-oscillator, oscillator 1, oscillator 2, our amp envelope, which is our main envelope, envelope 2, envelope 3, LFO1, and LFO2. And also down here, as you see, now we've got the filter over to the left and all of the matrix information to the right. So through the rest of the videos, we'll be using this viewpoint to go through all of Wavetable's features. So I'll see you in the next videos. All right, so how'd you guys like the first video? Hopefully you got a little bit out of that. We got 7 more videos to go. Once again, I'm doing this. This is normally a paid training, and I'm streaming it live for the next 24 hours in celebration of the final day to join the EP in 30 Days Master Course. So once again, if you guys are struggling at all with finishing songs, not knowing when a song's finished, not knowing what needs to be added, like your song feels like it's missing something, but you're just not quite sure what it is, or if you feel like it's because sound design skills, or you feel like you don't have enough music theory behind you, or you feel like you're super busy, because I've trained loads of busy people that work like 50 plus hours a week, and they're still finishing songs, not only songs, but releasing EPs as well. So all of this stuff is in the EP in 30 Days Master Course. I make it 30 days so that even if you don't have Ableton, you could download the free 30-day trial, full version of Ableton 10 Suite, and get to use it completely and actually finish songs before you even pay for the program. Obviously, if you like the program, you should buy it. If you like the program you're currently using better, you can just transfer that information you learned over to whatever DAW, and it'll work perfectly fine. There's usually transference of certain features. You could always find a workaround with another DAW. So yeah, there we have it. If you want more information, make sure to drop a question in the comments. Make sure to read all the stuff, and the link is, of course, at the bottom. And that's about it. If you guys can still hear me and you're still paying attention, then let me know. We'll go ahead and start the second video in the Wavetable series. So I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I just got to wait for you guys to get that. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me just fine, see me just fine. And once I can confirm that, we'll go ahead and move on. Also, I want to give a shout out to a few people that joined, Marjo, Alfonso, Marcus, and yeah, the three of you, thanks for joining, appreciate it. And the rest of you that join on the replay, welcome to you guys as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move forward with Wavetable, the oscillators. So we're going to get more into the oscillators in this video. Here we go. All right, so let's get into the oscillator section. So essentially, oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 are exactly the same. So once you understand how to use one, you'll understand how to use both, okay? So we're going to concentrate just here on oscillator 1. So here we could choose the type of wavetables that we can choose from. And then over here are the actual presets that we can use. So these are all under the basic shapes. And then when we go to collection, for example, then we get a different assortment of presets that are related to that. So let's start with some of the basics. We could skip right through here and just listen to some of the sounds. So and you can hear many of these sounds start off the same with a very simple waveform. However, where the magic really comes in wavetable synthesis is that it can transform it. So as I hold this note down and move the wave position, you could get much richer sounds. And then we'll just go through a few of these. For example, formant. So this movement can really make up the richness that wavetable synthesis has to offer. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to find a tone. So we'll just start with this here. And then what we're going to do is come into this section here. And this is where we can add FM synthesis and different forms of synthesis. So with FM synthesis, we can add an amount. We can tune. And then we've got semitones and a detune. Now we'll go to classic mode. So different types of tones that you can get. And then we've got modern here as well. So this gives you many ways to really manipulate the sound. And then obviously over here, this is just kind of a master volume for your oscillator. And this really comes in handy when you're mixing two different oscillators together. You can mix the volume of each one. So for now, that's really all you need to know about the oscillators. The tools. All right, so that was the oscillator video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Once again, just let me know if you have any trouble hearing me. Obviously, if you can't hear me, you'd probably say it in the comments that you can't hear me. And yeah, if you got any questions on the Wavetable, feel free to drop a question. Once again, this will be up for about 24 hours before I got to pull it down, because this is normally a paid course. And if you just are joining us, we are going through Ableton 10's Wavetable instrument. And it's a 8-video series, so if you're joining now, don't worry, it'll be up long enough for you to go back and watch anything that you've missed. So with that said, we're going to jump into Wavetable's envelopes. So here we go. All right, so next we're going to get into envelopes. So we've got our basic sound here. Now we can shape the attack, decay, sustain, and release. So essentially just by moving this, or you could choose in here your attack, decay, sustain, and release. You could kind of shape how the sound plays, just like with any other synth. Like so. But just to keep things simple, we'll go ahead and use this envelope here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use a second envelope, and we can assign it to something like the wave position here. So right here, as you can see, this is oscillator 1 position. So what we can do is we can assign envelope 2 to that. Let's just put it 100% for now. So this starts all the way at the top and then kind of moves down as we go. And there's the release there. And we can move the attack. That's 15 seconds. Let's make it a little shorter here. And then we could also set our start point. So if we want to start right from the bottom, we can do that, and this will move just from the bottom to the top. As you can see. Now we can have it go up and then settle back down to this level. And then float it back down. So as you can see, that's one way that an envelope can work. So another way you could use the envelope is with the filter. So we've got this filter set up, and all I've got to do here is just click down here on frequency. And now we have filter 1 frequency. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set this to 0 here. And we'll put this at 100%. So we get to see. We'll go minus 100. So as you can tell, this is going from low to high now, or actually high to low. And we'll have to like move the main amp a little further to match up with this here. So that's another way you could use the filter. So now we have this set. we could set the amount that we want. Like we can lower it a little bit so it's less prominent. So it's in there, but the original sound comes through more, and then you can go to whatever percentage you like. So this is how you can control the amount of that filter. So next up here you have trigger. And trigger, you might not notice much of a difference between trigger and none. But the thing about it is, if you press and hold the key on none, you get the filter. But if you just quickly tap the key, it doesn't activate the filter except for the very beginning of it. Whereas with trigger, regardless of how long you hold the note, it's going to trigger the envelope. So if I just hit the note, it'll go through that envelope. Next we have loop. If we set it to loop, what'll happen is it'll go through this and then it'll loop back again and again. All right, let's make this kind of a short thing here. So there you go. That's a couple of uses there for envelopes. And obviously envelope 3 works the same as envelope 2, and you could assign each to something different. All right, so there's another Wavetable video. We just went through envelopes. If you're just joining, welcome. We are going through the paid Wavetable training for free. I'm deciding to stream this live for 24 hours. So that you guys can get something out of this Ableton 10 instrument. It's a really cool instrument, and I'm doing this to celebrate our final days that the doors are open for the Create an EP in 30 Days course. This is my main course that anyone who's following me who's not finishing songs, this is the one that is changing people's lives. So if that is of interest at all to you, all the information is in the description up here or wherever, down here, I don't know where it is. So yeah, check it out. There's a link. You could feel free to ask me any questions either privately or in the comments, or if you have any questions on the Wavetable, obviously drop me a question. Once again, this post is going to come down probably in about 24 hours, so definitely if you're just joining, you can make sure to watch the replay once the replay is up. And there we have it. With that, we're going to get into the Wavetable filters section. So here we go. Video 4. All right, so this is just a really quick video on Wavetable's filter, or filters rather, because it has 2 filters. One thing that I did say in a previous video is that by going to 24, this makes the resonance sharper. That's not actually true. What this does is it makes a sharper edge here, so it cuts off more steep, where this is a little bit more angled, as you can see here. So if you want a steeper slope, go for 24. If you want a wider frequency, go for 12. So I'm going to just go ahead and play a note here and use this envelope 2 just to get the filter working, all right? So that has a little bit of movement to it here, and what I'm going to do is, while I'm playing, I will show you the different types of filters, because some of these other filters are a bit more interesting. All right, so that kind of shows you the basics. So we could actually have one running, let's say this one, and then have another here that we can assign to envelope 2. So let's just go ahead and assign this one as well. And now I'm going to put it to negative here and see what we've got. And let me play a lower note here and then play around with that as well. So that's kind of cool sounding. And what I could do here, just so that we don't lose all of this, I'll put the percentage down a little bit so we get some of the original, but still get a little bit of movement there. And then we can also add this back in here. Let's try something like 50-50 on this one. And now we could also experiment with this and choose a different filter. I think I'm liking that one. I'm going to turn this off real quick, and just so I can focus on this filter. Yeah, I think I like this one best, so we're going to go with that, and this will be -100. And now we could also add drive here to our sound. Can really bring out some of the aspects of the filter. And once again, you can choose different types of filters if you would like with the low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch filters. So definitely experiment with this, as it can really bring sounds to life. All right, so we just finished the 4th of 8 training videos on Ableton 10's Wavetable synth. I am sharing this for 24 hours to celebrate the 24 hours that you have left. If you have ever considered joining the EP in 30 Days Master Course, it is a 30-day interactive course with me and many other motivated students that really is made to help you finish songs consistently, quality songs. So if you've ever thought that your song is missing something, or you feel like you need better sound design skills or music theory skills, or you need to understand mixing better, or some of the essential effects like compressors and reverb and EQ, delay, those things are all kind of covered completely. It's like a real 360-degree production training that will take you, even if you've never used Ableton before, it will take you from the beginning all the way to finishing quality songs. Obviously, as you finish more and more songs, you're going to get better at your art, but the process that you learn is something that you can take with you for a lifetime. So that information's in the description. Now we're going to get ready to go into Wavetable's LFOs. If you're just joining, it looks like Jim Tobin you're watching. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. So this is kind of the second half of the training. We're almost halfway through, and it's going to be all about the LFOs and the Wavetable synth that's in Ableton 10. Really powerful synth, and definitely worth diving into. And here we go. All right, so in this video, we're going to get into LFOs here. So essentially what an LFO can do is this movement up and down can be applied to any parameter on the wavetable, all right? And obviously we have two different ones, but I'm going to teach you how to use one, and that'll help you understand how both of them work since they both work the same way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assign the LFO to the volume here. And since the volume is all the way up at the top, what we're going to do is we're going to use a negative setting on this LFO. So we'll turn this all the way down to 100%. And now we'll be able to hear the effect of the sound as how it affects the volume of this. And then with your rate, we can affect the speed. So the amount's going to be the top volume level that you're going to get since this is turned all the way up to the top and we have a negative number here. This is a full amount. If I turn it to 0, we're just going to have silence. And then as we go, we start getting more and more volume. So forth. So the next parameter here is shape, and this just changes the shape somewhere between a sine wave and a square wave, all right? And then obviously here we have different shapes set up as well, and we can of course change the shape of these as well. And this can change from an uprising saw wave to a downslope saw wave. Now your offset is kind of important because let's say you want to start from the top and then move your way down. You would set this offset and this would change your starting point. And if we slow down the rate, so now every time I hit this, it just kind of has this down slope. Now I can switch the shape to an upward slope and change the offset. And now it'll go from low to high. Now the reason it continues to start from this point every time is because we have re-trigger set. So what this does is it always starts from the same spot. If we turn re-trigger off, then this just kind of moves at its own pace, and depending on when I hit the key depends on where it's at in its progress. So if I just go ahead and turn that off, you'll notice as I hit this, it's going to be in different locations. And I can make this faster or slower. And as you can see, this is just kind of moving on its own. Other things that we can assign this to would be the pitch envelope. So we could kind of create a bit of a subtle pitch shifting, which gives certain synths a more vintage analog sort of sound because the old synths didn't really stay in tune very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this a little bit, and then I'm going to turn the amount down. That just can create a subtle sort of pitch bend. I can turn this up a little bit more and make it more prominent. Then as I hit the notes, it kind of has that slightly out of tune sort of vibe. So another thing that we can do is we can set the attack amount. So this way, this LFO can actually fade in. So let's make a noticeable speed here. And then we'll put the attack up. And as you can see, it goes from a more subtle to a more extreme LFO. So let's go ahead and do this, and we can hear how it affects things. Oops, we got to make sure that we turn this to -100, and here we go. And the one thing that you will notice is that this attack is going to work whether you have the retrigger on or off. So this is always going to be affected, this volume envelope. Now so far everything we've done has not been tempo matched with the rate, but we can, if we want, come over here and we can set this to 8th note or 16th note or whatever. So this will help it sync to tempo if that's the effect that you're going for. So you could just bounce between either hitting the note thing here or the HZ, the hertz. So that's how the LFOs work in Wavetable. All right, so hope you got a lot out of the LFO section. I want to say hi to Robert. Good seeing you here. Hope you're learning something. Since you just came in recently, you can always rewatch this on the replay. I'll leave it up for about 24 hours. Once again, the reason I'm doing this is to celebrate the launch and the final day to join the EP in 30 Days course. If you've taken the EP in 30 Days course, feel free to drop a comment, let people know your experience with that. We've got so many testimonials that I can share with you. If you want to know kind of how people enjoy my training and stuff, you can also check out my best-selling book on Amazon. You just simply type music production and my book, Music Habits, will come up. And you can check out all the other reviews and everything on that as well. Now, of course, the course is completely different than the book, but the mindset is similar. So if you want to get an idea of kind of where I'm coming from mindset-wise, that would be a good place to kind of get a better understanding. So if you're interested in that, you've got till Wednesday, probably about 4 or 5 o'clock. It's going to be, the doors will close shut, and I'll focus 100% on each and every student. Because what I do is with every student, there's homework after each lesson in the process. It's a 19-step lesson. And you can go at your own pace, or you can go one lesson a day. And every time you send in the homework, I review it and I respond, letting you know if there's anything that I see that you might want to do to improve your results. So that's kind of how that works. Now we're going to get into the sub-oscillator on Wavetable. So let me just jump right into that. I hope you get a lot out of this. All right, this is just going to be a quick video here on the sub-oscillator. So the sub-oscillator adds either a bit more warmth to a sound at 0 octave, or we'll add a sub-oscillator at 1 or 2 octaves below the note that you're playing. So let me show you kind of a little before and after. And it's easier for me to demonstrate this by playing a higher note. And I'm just going to put it on 0 here. Now with. So definitely a difference there in the warmth of the sound. Now I can just kind of go through the -1 and -2 octave to give you an idea of the difference between each of these. So I'll just hold down a key real quick. Let's just go with -1 octave, and with the tone we can bring in a little bit more harmonics to the sub-oscillator. And to demonstrate this a little more, let's just go to we'll go to oscillator 2, just a very simple sound here. So it just adds more harmonics, essentially, if I play lower. Just gives the sound a little bit more bite. So that's really all you need to know about the sub-oscillator. All right, so that is the sub-oscillator. We will jump into Wavetable's glide in unison right now. So we'll just jump right into there. Once again, this is a paid course that I'm sharing with you for free for the next 24 hours. So if you're just joining me, feel free to do the rewatch once this is over. All right, so in this video, we're just going to get over on this side here, mainly focusing on glide and unison. So let's first go ahead and we'll turn unison off here, and we'll just focus on the glide. So essentially the glide just gives you the ability to pitch bend from one note to another. So best way to demonstrate this, you want to make sure you're in mono, meaning that you can only play one note at a time. And then you just set the length of time that you want it to take to get from one note to another, or bend from one note to another. So let's go ahead and put this up to a couple seconds. So although that's not always very practical, that kind of gives you the idea of just bending from one note to another. Now we can get a little bit lower here. And then we can get even quicker, and this just gives kind of that quick little bend that glide is kind of more well known for. So there's not too much to know about glide, just as long as you put yourself in mono instead of poly, and then just set the amount of time that you want for the bend. And that's really all there is to it, and it's a great effect. Next we're going to get into unison, and I'll kind of show you a before and after as we go. So essentially you just choose the type of unison that you want, and the Wavetable synth gives a lot of different choices, which all have their own distinct sound. Down here are the number of voices, which basically means we're layering the same sound several times. So in this case, with 3 voices, we're layering the sound 3 times, and depending on the amount here is how much pitch shift there is in each of the voices, so that as you slightly change the pitch of each of these duplicate layers, you're going to get a wider sound, and then it's going to become inharmonic, which means that it's going to sound out of tune. Essentially, from the moment that you add it, it is slightly out of tune. That's what creates the effect. But usually a lower amount is a bit more musical, where a higher amount can give you really some alien sort of sounds. All right? So let's go ahead and start here with classic. And with 0%, we got no effect here. And then I'll just hold down the note and add the amount, so you can kind of hear the massive difference that this can make in a sound.
And then from here you have voices, which once again is the number of duplicate layers, which is the number of duplicate layers that the sound has. So with 8 voices, that's 8 layers that are all slightly detuned. So more voices can give a slightly thicker sound, if you will, or richer sound. I find that if you want to save CPU, you can get quite a bit out of the sound at 3 or 4. And as you go a little bit higher, the difference is a little bit more subtle. So if we start at 2, you can definitely hear the difference between 2 and 3. And then from 4 up, it gets more subtle, okay? So now let's just go through the different types of unison. So the shimmer obviously is going to give a little bit more high frequency content. So if we go from classic to shimmer, and then we can go to noise. Phase sync. Position spread. This kind of gives a wider sound as it's panning things in different positions with each layer. And then finally we have random note. So that can really add like kind of a chorused effect, thickens the sound, can make the sound a lot more interesting. Even at very low percentages, there is certainly a difference that you can notice between having unison on and having it off. And it can really be kind of a secret sauce to getting some great synth sounds. Lastly, I'll mention here that when you're in poly mode here, the number of voices that you use will take up more CPU. So if you notice up here, I'm using the maximum amount, which is 8 notes. So the more notes that I hold down, the higher the CPU usage. So we'll just kind of show you here. And as you can see, we kind of started to overload a little bit with the amount of notes that are being held down. So in this case, you could turn down a max, turn it down to 5 or 4 notes being held at the same time, and that will certainly control your CPU usage. Also at the same time, the number of voices that you use can add a bit of CPU, although this is a little bit more subtle, whereas if you're in poly mode playing chords, this synth is going to use up more CPU. But one of the secrets, obviously, is that you can freeze the track and that will recover your CPU usage. Okay? So that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next.
All right, so we're almost done with our Wavetable training. So if you are an Ableton 10 user, or if you know an Ableton 10 user, make sure to tag them. This will be up for the next 24 hours. If you're just joining me, once this is concluded, you'll be able to go through the replay for the next 24 hours. And the reason I'm doing this, because normally this is a paid course, is one, to share some value with you guys for free. Really am appreciative of all of you guys here. We've just gone past 25,000 members in this group. I mean, that is just an amazing milestone for this community. And I really just want to get everyone to just share with each other and really make this a powerful place to come to share really good, solid information. And obviously the other reason that I'm doing this is because for the next 24 hours, we still have the doors open for our Create an EP in 30 Days Master Course. And this, if anyone is following me, this is the training I suggest to you if you're having any issues with finishing songs. And I'm talking whether you're just a beginner with Ableton or never even touched Ableton. Even if you don't even own Ableton, you could actually download the 30-day trial and go through this whole course using the free version of Ableton. And then you could decide how much you like Ableton after that and consider buying it. But I wanted to make a course that you could literally finish not one song, but 2 to 3 songs within the next 30 days. And I'll just break down really quickly before we go into the next video how this works, okay? So this process is what, it really is exactly what helped me to go from finishing maybe 3 or 4 songs a year. You know, one of those might be a remix and then some originals. And really, I wasn't getting these tracks signed, and I thought they were good, but they weren't great. And so I understand now why they weren't getting signed. I went from that to developing this process that I train people on that helped me finish 52 songs in 13 months. Most of those songs were, pretty much all the original songs were signed and became, top 10. I had 3 #1 EPs from that. So don't think that writing songs quickly is going to hurt your quality. It actually will improve the quality, and I explain that in the course as well of how that works. So basically, we go through a 19-step process, and each step, each day, you're going to get a really detailed training video. You'll also get a second video that's called Avoiding Pitfalls that helps you with any further issue that you might have. By watching that, you can solve 95% of any other issues that you might have with that. It also comes with a workbook so you can visually see the breakdown of everything that you learn in the lesson. And in that workbook, you're also getting daily homework that's sent directly to me. I interact personally with every single student, and that's why I can only take on up to 100 students at the most. This really takes up, my full month very easily, and it's totally worth it for me because the results that people get are absolutely transformational. So it's much better than just an information course, and that's why it took me a full year after I developed this process to put the training together. So if you have any questions on that, drop me a comment. I'm happy to answer it there. If you don't feel comfortable asking me a question in public, you can hit me up privately, and I'm happy to answer it directly. If you think anyone else could use this sort of training, tag them, and also, tag someone if you think that they could use training on the Wavetable that we're getting into. And speaking of which, I'm going to dive into our very last video. So I really appreciate you taking the time, allowing me to blab a little bit and share my passion for training people how to finish songs consistently. This is not a course that's just made to last for 30 days. It's a course that I meant to be able to carry with you for the next, several decades, of being able to consistently finish songs. And that's incredibly important to me because being able to do that has empowered me in so many amazing ways. It's helped me get one of the best club gigs that I could possibly get in the country. It's helped me have great releases and nice following as well. So if any of that is of interest to you, you got 24 hours to make a decision. There is a full payment and a broken payment version, so you could actually pay it off over 4 months if money is some sort of an issue. If you have any specific issue that you don't think that I'm covering, hit me up because I really try my best to make sure everyone has an opportunity to join this course if they're committed to it. I obviously don't want tire kickers. I want people who really want to make a transformation, and that's what this is for. So with that said, let's get on to our final video. And once again, if you're just joining, we're going through the new Wavetable synth that is in Ableton 10, and it's a fantastic synth, incredibly versatile. And if you don't know how to use it, it can be kind of confusing. Once you do understand how it works, it's incredibly powerful, incredibly intuitive. So with that, we're going to get into the most important part of the Wavetable. It's called the matrix. And if you're just joining, Understand that after this, the replay will be available, so you could go back and watch the whole thing over again. Feel free to drop any questions or comments, and I'm happy to answer those. And here we go. All right, so in this video, we're going to get into the matrix here. All right, so this is this whole area right here. And the way that this works, and we've demonstrated it with giving examples of the envelopes and the LFOs here. And as you can see, these are the things that can modulate other aspects of Wavetable. And the way that we can add parameters to this Wavetable is just by simply clicking on something. For example, if I come up here to the effect here, if I were to turn this on and come over here to the effect percentage, as you can see down here, now that is a parameter that can be controlled by one of these modulators. And obviously we got to choose an FM parameter here. And that's how we pretty much control anything. And it can be a positive 100 down to negative 100. And you may need to switch between the two in order to hear the effect on certain parameters, like we've done with the filter in another video. So since we have discussed this part of the matrix, what I wanted to do is just demonstrate some of these functions here. And these are the MIDI functions. For example, this here, velocity, we can control different aspects of the wavetable by how hard we hit a key on the keyboard, okay? So for example, we can affect the filter just by and I'll turn this one up as well. Turn that down again. We could have the pitch affected by velocity. So it changes the note just by how hard I hit on one note, okay? Might not be very useful, but just as a demonstration. Here with note, this here we can affect, for example, any parameter by whether we're hitting a low note to a high note. So the higher the note, the more the effect if we go in a positive direction. And it's the opposite if we go in a low direction. So this would be the high note has the least effect and the low note has the most effect. So let's go ahead to a positive, and I can play from a low note. And as we get into higher notes, we'll notice that more of the filter is opening up. And so forth. This here, this can control the pitch bend amount. Obviously the pitch bend is controlling the pitch here, and we can set the parameters to control how wide that pitch bend is. Right now it's so 25 is an octave, 50 would be 2 octaves. But you can also control a number of other things. So if we want, we can affect the filter here with the pitch bend and take that to 100%. And so the pitch bend can control many things by using this matrix. Now we can also control things with aftertouch. So what's cool is if you have a synth with aftertouch, or if you have the push 2 which has an aftertouch, then you can affect certain things as well. Maybe one thing we want to affect here is the oscillator position. So that's this right here. So if I turn this up, this is without aftertouch. And then I'll hold it and then I'll push it a little harder to create the aftertouch effect. As you can see, it went to a different position. And we'll put this back to 0. And I can do the same thing here with, for example, pitch or whatever. So as you can see, you can get really creative with what the matrix can do. And finally, you have modulation. And a lot of synths have a modulation wheel of some sort. With the push 2, I also have a modulation, which basically uses the same thing as the pitch bend. I just am able to shift from pitch bend to modulation, and it essentially does the same thing that I would be able to do with the pitch bend. Now down here is a global amount, so we can
we can shift all the parameters with this one feature here, and we can obviously change the amount of effect from 0 to 200. So at 0, it doesn't affect anything. And then as we turn the amount up, then these start to take place. So that is the matrix in a nutshell. And once again, you can get as creative as you want. Pretty much anything that you can click on in the wavetable, you can assign over here to any of these, the amp, envelope 2, envelope 3, LFO1 or LFO2. And of course, we can assign how hard a note is hit, the note that's played, whether it's low, mid, or high note, pitch bend, aftertouch, and modulation. All of that can work all at the same time to make this synth just a real beast in creative ability. So I hope this course has helped you understand how powerful this synth can be and what it's capable of. And I'm sure as you explore this yourself that you will find things that I haven't even tapped into in this training. So I encourage you, after going through this course, to figure out how things work. Just get experimental and see what comes out of this. I hope that it opens creative possibilities for you. Take care, guys.
And there you have it. There is the Wavetable course in full. So I will leave this up for 24 hours. Feel free to tag a friend who you think could use this course. This is mainly for Ableton 10 users. I believe, I'm not sure if Ableton 9 users can buy the Wavetable separately or not. I haven't really looked into that. I would assume that you could, but I'm not sure. There might be certain things with Ableton 10 that are necessary in order to make that synth work. Once again, this is just a 24-hour kind of celebration of the final day of the EP in 30 Days course. After this, the doors close, and I focus 100% on all the new students. I've had a number of them come in. If you're not familiar with the EP in 30 Days Master course, and if you've ever wanted to really seriously start finishing songs consistently that are release quality, and get yourself onto some record labels and make some EP releases, hopefully move yourself into the charts and that sort of thing, this is going to be the course for that. The information is in the description. I'll have this up until the doors close. So if that's something that you're interested in, or if you know someone who would be interested in something like that maybe they would want to take the course with you, tag them below. And once again, this will be gone in about 24 hours. So make sure to share this with anyone that you think can get anything out of either the course or the Wavetable training that I just shared with you. Normally this training is a paid course, so I can't keep it up for long, once again, but it's all there 100%. So for the next day or so, it'll be available. So I hope you get a ton out of it. I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday, and I will talk to you guys real soon. Hopefully I'll be seeing some of you guys inside the EP in 30 Days Master course group as well, and we will get deep into song construction, song production, all the effects, all the sound design tricks, and ways to get around if you're not great at music theory and all that sort of stuff. So with that said, I hope you guys have a great one. Take care.